Hello and welcome to the absolutely massive Hummer EV. This thing is so huge that I feel like a little kid standing next to it. It's so big that I can barely fit it in this quite big garage and on the entire frame of this video. I'm down here in Alabama, about 1,600 miles away from my shop in Colorado, and I'm detailing on the road this week, doing some mobile details. I drove out here in my Model 3 Performance, packed as much detailing supplies in the trunk of it, drove down here and have been having just honestly the best time ever. But today we're going to be protecting this Hummer EV Omega Edition in its factory satin blue paint with a ceramic coating. Now I've never used this coating on a satin finished vehicle, so it's going to be a little bit of a review on this product and a little bit of a tutorial as well. We're going to talk about different options as well, what you can do, what you shouldn't do to protect, wash, clean, and maintain a satin factory painted vehicle. So welcome back to another out of spec detailing video. Let's jump into it. Well, I'm very excited to be here with an Omega Edition Hummer EV. The paint color on this, I really hope it comes through on camera, but this very kind of bright but kind of dull at the same time metallic satin blue on this thing looks absolutely incredible. So the coating that we're going to be installing today is Clean by Pan the Organizer's 8-year coating. Now this has really been a coating that has honestly blown me away for quite a few reasons. One of the reasons being ease of application. I don't care who you are. If you've been coating cars for 10 years like I have, if you're new to the game, the last thing you want to have happen is use a ceramic coating that actually makes your life a whole heck of a lot harder. I've used a lot of coatings in my 10 plus years of detailing that feel like you're wiping honey or molasses off the surface, which causes lots of streaks all over, darker colored finished vehicles, and you never really feel like you get the best, smooth, perfectly even coating. The other thing that I've ran into over the years, working on a lot of vehicles, of course, that have different materials and textures of materials and things like that, is you really have to go in and use a separate coating for each one of those areas. For example, let's think about a Rivian R1S. You have a gloss paint, you have textured black plastic cladding everywhere. When I would go in and coat the paint on a Rivian, I would have to be extremely careful not to get that paint coating onto the black plastic trim area, because then when I'd go over with my dedicated trim coating, that area where I got coating on would be a different color, a different texture, because you already have a coating on there and it's rejecting the coating that you're putting on. Then the other thing you'd have to worry about, if you're coating trim, you have to worry about getting the trim coating on the paint because it smears like crazy. It's normally a traditionally thicker product that is really trying to soak into the pores of plastic. So along came Clean by Pan the Organizer's 8-year coating. I've been testing, playing around with this product, and it honestly has really blown me away. Not only the ease of application, but the breadth of the abilities that you can actually coat with it. So you can essentially coat the entire exterior of your vehicle with a bottle of this coating. It's made for gloss painted vehicles. It's made for glass. You can put it on wheels, that black plastic trim. You can also put it on paint protection film as well as vinyl. And importantly, you can also put it on factory matte or satin finish vehicles. So it's really been this cool product that I've used. I've been unbelievably impressed with how it's done on cars that I've re-washed. And importantly, it's one of the coatings that I found that actually works on the Cybertruck. So that to me was kind of this aha moment of, wow, we may have a coating that is kind of the jack of all trades, the Swiss Army knife of the detailing industry. And it's been really impressive. One of the things that I think a lot of viewers as well as professional detailers do get frustrated about in the coating industry is you have every sort of different coating for every sort of different application. So let's just think about this Hummer EV here, for example. So I have a glossed finished coating that I would use here. I would have a matte finish coating here. I would have a glass coating here. I would have a plastic trim coating here. I would have a wheel coating. All of that instead of paying, you know, $100 a bottle, all goes into one bottle. And that's the other thing you start thinking about when you're actually coating a vehicle like this with all of these different textures and materials around it. Essentially, what I get concerned with is using a gloss type finish ceramic coating that goes here, getting it onto the satin areas. Why not have one coating that works in both? Because reality, what I've seen, some of the matte coatings are great, but they actually don't look as good on gloss piano black areas like this. So it becomes this really frustrating application. It's a lot more time consuming. Whereas here, I can do this part of the hood, go into here. I can even, if I was working on a Rivian or something with all that plastic trim, boom, go right over it and do all of it at once. So it's been really cool for that. Now, what I've already done with this vehicle, I've gone through, I've fully washed it, fully decontaminated it. I brought it here into this garage space. I've gone through, of course, dried it. And I went through actually and polished all of the piano black areas here. It had lots of scratches from, I would assume, either factory or dealership when my customer purchased it. Nonetheless, we got all that polished up. When you do that, you need to be extremely careful. Let's say you're watching this video, you just bought a Hummer or another vehicle, a Hyundai, a Kia that has a satin finish paint on it, and you wanted to polish this up, you need to be extremely careful about getting your polishing residue and pads onto the satin finish here. What creates this satin finish is actually under a microscope, essentially having these jagged edges that are kind of random. That way when the light hits it, it refracts differently. That's what creates this satin frozen matte effect. Whereas gloss under a microscope, it's kind of flat like this. Now, of course, you'll have some kind of hills and valleys, if you will, with some orange peel and texture, but that's what really creates this satin finish here. So one of the issues is with satin or matte finish paints, if you get a polisher on it, try to, you know, scrub it really hard, you can actually knock some of those tops off and actually start to create a shiny finish. You could quite literally come in here, compound and polish this and turn this into a very splotchy, glossy mess of a finish. So you want to be very careful with the products you use. You want to ensure when you're washing these vehicles as well that you're just using a normal pH neutral soap that doesn't have any additives in it. You don't want to essentially clog those valleys or those pores there. You just want a nice clean. So the whole idea is to get a ceramic coating on it, a sacrificial layer on top of it. It's going to protect against water spots, bird poop, bugs, anything like that. It's going to be a heck of a lot easier to clean from dirt and grime. So that's why we're going to be coating that. So the other thing that I've gone through, next step would be after you've washed it, you've polished all the trim, got it to the point where, okay, I'm happy with that, it's time to coat it. You would come in with a panel prep spray. Now, what we used on this truck was Clean by Pan the Organizers panel prep spray. This is a spray that's going to remove any sort of oils, any sort of polishing residue off of piano black areas like this. Make sure that the surface is completely naked. This is one of the most important steps in ceramic coating a vehicle, is ensuring there is nothing on that surface that is not going to allow that coating to physically and chemically bond to the surface of which you're applying it. So very important to go through and do that. After that, it's time to get coating. So I'm excited for this because this is the first time, like I've said, that I've installed it on a satin or matte finish vehicle. There's a lot of risk here. If something goes wrong, there's nothing you can do. You can't repolish it. You can't, you know, really get that coating off. So you need to be very cautious about how you do this. We'll talk about some steps I would do to test it out in an inconspicuous area, not go crazy on trying to coat half the side of the truck and then scramble like crazy to get it all wiped off. We're going to go through all the steps here. So this will be a fun one. Let's get to coating. We're pretty much ready to get into our coating here, but I want to show you a few other things that I would use to get started. So first off here, using an Eagle Edgeless 350, I'm going to just show you how the panel prep spray goes on and how it's applied. So this is the actual bottle here. I have this in wide angle because this thing, you know, standing 4 or 5 feet away from it, you can barely fit it into view. Pretty insane. So typically what we do, we're going to spray this down and we're just going to work this into the paint here. So again, the whole intention here is to remove any sort of oils, any sort of waxes, any sort of leftover residue here. Now, when I do this, I don't recommend doing it panel by panel. For example, I would not recommend wiping down the hood, coating the hood, then coming down here, wiping this panel off. The reason being is this can interfere with kind of the coating curing process. So my recommendation, do the entire truck first, let everything dry, and then you're actually ready to get coating. Now let's quickly talk over here about what we're gonna be using to install this coating. So here's the coating here. These come in 30 milliliter bottles. It is also amazing how far a single bottle of this actually goes. I do have extras on hand, and it's also impressive how long these actually stay good for. So realistically, what I would say, once you crack open a bottle of this, use it within about 6 months. Make sure this is very much tightened down. What I also do with my ceramic coatings also is I actually put them in a refrigerator. Helps keep the coatings for a little bit longer period. So these are the Rag Company Edgeless 300 towels here and an Eagle Edgeless 500 here. Also, the coating applicators we're using today are going to be from Autofiber. Personally, really don't like the ones that come in Clean by Pam the Organizer's 8-year coating kind of kit. I really don't like the applicators. I like a smaller one. The great thing about these are called coating savers. So they have a hydrophobic barrier in between the microfiber and the foam inside. That way your coating is actually going onto your vehicle, not soaked up into the foam there. So this is kind of our basics. Once you've gone through, done your panel prep spray there, this is what you're gonna use for your first initial wipe off and kind of your second initial. This is called leveling. You'll hear that talked about for doing ceramic coatings. So my recommendation, anytime you're testing a coating, test it in an inconspicuous area. I want to ensure that this coating is not going to make the surface too glossy here. It's not going to streak and look completely terrible. Because one of the issues with satin or matte finished vehicles, you kind of have one chance. You really, if you leave high spots, i.e. we'll talk about that here. Let's say we've coated this entire section here, and this area down here I left coating and it fully cured. There's no way to get that off a matte or satin finished vehicle. If you do that on a normal painted vehicle or glass or something like that, normally you can polish this area, come back through, recoat it, and it's going to be good to go. But here you've got one chance, so you need to make sure you're checking, going through, and being very thorough with it. So what I've already done here to test this product is I actually opened up one of the door jambs here, specifically this rear door jamb, and actually came in here and coated this area, and it looked absolutely perfect. Now, one of the other recommendations I would have for you guys, start small. Start in a manageable area that you can kind of get an idea of the feel of the coating, how it installs, how it applies. Don't get ahead of yourself. Now, always one of the areas, which is crazy for me, that I start coating is right smack dab on the hood, because I figure what? You know, got to figure this out one way or another. What I'm going to do on this though is this particular area. I just want to make sure it looks good and even all the way throughout. So once I get that coated, kind of get a feel of it, then I'll start getting into bigger and bigger sections. Now down here in Alabama, which is very different from Colorado, it's extremely humid. It's also pretty darn hot today. So it's 85 degrees and like 93% humidity. Luckily in here, we have an AC unit up there. Makes my life way easier. So realistically, start on a section like that, or use this body line, coat this area, get a feel for it and see how it goes. So I think we're ready to go. Let's get our first panel applied here and see how it goes. I'll talk you through some of the steps, some of the feelings I have throughout, but I have a feeling this is going to look incredible. Now, actually, I have already done this entire front section, the center of the hood, the whole other side of the truck here, going amazingly well. So first off, if you're looking for a review, works beautifully on matte paint. So actually the reason I am using this here today is because I had a brand new bottle of Gyeon Matte that I brought with me. That's been one of my favorite coatings to use on matte or satin finished vehicles. And I opened it up and I dropped it. And being away from the shop, I didn't have a spare, didn't even think about bringing one. I have never dropped a bottle, slid right out of my hands and shattered everywhere. So that's why we're using this. And like I would say from Bob Ross, happy accident, because this is going amazingly well. So let's get into the install. I'm going to show you how this works here. Now, the one thing you need to consider anytime you're using a ceramic coating is understanding your cure time or your flash time. Now, your flash time is when I basically start applying this like this until you wipe it or you start leveling it and completely wipe it off. Now with Clean by Pans coating here, it is right between 1 to 2 minutes. Now, you can also leave it 4 to 5 minutes as well. So this coating is actually amazing for how far you can kind of push the stuff and is very forgiving, very easy to use. So what I'm doing here is basically working it in a crosshatch motion. You can see going one way and then bringing it down the other way. The big thing with coatings, you want to get a very nice even layer. You don't want to have it very high spots in certain areas and super low spots. You want to have a nice, even, consistent coating throughout. So here's the great thing. Normally, when I would be coating a panel like this with the Gyeon mat, I would come in here, I'd be very careful around all of this gloss trim here. I'm just going to go straight over it because this coating is actually made to go on this also. Again, that is just one of the really nice things. The other really nice thing here is actually this area is going to be a key indicator of when our coating has actually flashed off our surface. So what this coating actually does is turns into a big bright rainbow, and that's when you know, okay, it's cured long enough, it's ready to come off. So I'm going to split this section up here right about there, and we're just going to wait. We're going to let this cure. Now again, if I was doing this for the very first time, what I may do, start on this small section here, use that body line, start on somewhere in that front bumper, get a feel for it. Maybe what I would do is also use an area like this and kind of see how it's looking. So I'm gonna bring you in a little closer and show you what those rainbows look like. So I hope you guys can see here in this area, see how it kind of looks like an oil slick throughout. That is our key indicator that it is ready to come off. You can see it more and more here. So I really like to let the coatings cure on there and really get in there, absorb into the surfaces, really cure off. But that is completely ready to go. So that's the indicator you're looking for. So again, the nice thing here is you have this as kind of a key indicator. So if you're doing this for the first time, and again, this is a very DIY friendly coating. You can 100% do this for your first time coating on matte or satin finish vehicles. Just be careful with how you wipe this. So what I'm going to do here is actually grab my first wipe towel, and we're going to come in and we're going to level this out. I personally like to work in circular motions, and look at that. You can see the change here, and it just feels completely and absolutely smooth. It is extremely slick here, but look how beautiful this paint looks. Now, one thing I want to talk to you guys about is actually high spots. So a high spot would be, let's say I've wiped all this area and left this here. If I leave that section there and don't wipe it off, this is going to stay like that. You have to be very mindful of this on matte paint. Again, on gloss paint, you can come in there, easily wipe that off or polish it off if necessary. But the cool thing with this coating, it actually has a long workability time. So I can actually come in, even normally about 20 to 30 minutes later and actually wipe that away. So let me show you again this example. You want to make sure you don't leave that spot there. So what I always like to do is actually over wipe. So let's say I've split this hood into multiple sections. I would then, once I flip this towel over, come far into this section, even onto these adjacent panels, making sure that I've wiped those off, and you're pretty much good to go. But even down here, all this oil slick, you can see, basically give it one wipe and it's basically gone. That's why this coating is so nice, so easy to use. So I'm going to continue here, getting this entire panel wiped down. Then we'll come through with our red towel and do our final wipe, just to ensure we've got 100% of everything there. And that's a coated panel. It is quite literally as simple as that. Now, the biggest thing a lot of folks get into trouble with ceramic coatings is actually working too far, not letting the coatings cure. So again, you want to look for those key indicators of, hey, the coating's ready to come off, and they get way too far ahead of themselves. I see the biggest thing people do is try and coat this entire hood. It takes them 3 minutes to do the entire hood. Then once they get back to here, they're absolutely scrambling over here to get it all off. But that is, again, the beauty of Pans coating here, is that you have a long workability on it. So this is looking absolutely incredible. Again, happy accidents, just like Bob Ross said, shattering that matte coating bottle, because I'm probably never gonna buy it, because this is just way, way better feeling. And just like that, we have a fully coated Hummer EV Omega Edition. Dang, this looks incredible. You can see how beautiful the paint looks here. Really see that metallic pop in it. And I love here with the coating on it, the depth, the richness it added. Now, it didn't make it shiny. Now, it does look a little bit more quote unquote glossy right now. That's because of these kind of hazed over lights, naturally going to make it look a little bit glossier. But as you can see down the doors here, retains that perfectly satin finish. As I come in here, just looks awesome. But man, love the highlights and shadows that it really brings out, especially when you look at it back here with this bulging fender out the side. This color just suits this truck so well. So a couple of things about the coating. I am kicking myself a little bit for not trying this sooner. Literally last week, I coated a Range Rover SV in a satin brown color, $10,000+ factory paint job on that. And I used Geon Matte on it and absolutely completely fought myself the entire time doing it. Had some very weird issues with installing that coating, and had to actually redo some areas, which of course, as you guys know, is very tricky with satin finished paints. Basically immediately had to go in with panel prep sprays and actually strip that coating off because it was making some very weird marks in the paint. None of that with this. I am very thrilled with how this coating goes on. Again, so many benefits with this. Number one being I can just go in and coat trim and things like that without even thinking about it. And again, one of the things, again, pointing this out, I hope this makes a lot of sense. So after I would coat the paint here, normally I'd come back in with, G-Technic C5, C4, I don't remember what it is. One's a wheel armor, one's their permanent trim restore. And I would come in here and I'd be extra careful not to get it on the paint. I'd be petrified at that point. But later on this evening, when I come in here, I'm just going to coat this. If I get it on the paint, zero issue, because I'm not worried about it. It's just going to retain this beautiful satin color on here. So lots of, it's just gotten to this point with this coating. I've been so impressed with the usability of it, the way it installs, the versatility of it. It has really transformed my detailing in a long way. And one of the best things about it actually is how far a bottle goes. It is naturally a pretty thick coating, but a little goes a long way. So for example, this Rivian that is literally sitting outside of this door, I did the entire paint all of the plastic trim around it with half a bottle. I use that other half here on the truck, completely finish that off. Now again, there's still some areas above the windows here around the cowl that I still need to do. Hummer's a big vehicle. The other thing you'll notice when you're coating a matte or satin finish vehicle, it naturally soaks up a lot more product, so you kind of go through it quickly. But I did one bottle through both of those cars, which is unbelievably impressive. So let's say you're buying, you know, a Model 3, you want to use this coating, you can 100% do the paint, do the wheels. That includes the faces, the barrels, any of the trim around it, the glass, anything with one bottle. It's really extraordinarily impressive. So yeah, I'm really blown away with this coating. It has easily become my most favorite coating I've honestly ever used. I can't say it enough times, so I'm extremely impressed with it. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. All of the products I used in today's video will be in the link in the description below. I do have a discount code to purchase Pan the Organizer's 8-year coating. I believe it's a 10% discount, so it can save you a little bit of money there. I'll leave all the coupon codes, discount links, all of that fun stuff in the comment section below. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in another one soon. Bye-bye.